shoulder, sees Shane Walk making a run. He still hasn't let Surround go. She's a half length to Shane Walk. Ashbar pulling out from Grand Supreme. Now Trevina shakes Surround up. She's shot away 2 in front. In second place, Shane Walk, and then Ashbar. But here it is, 10 in a row. What can you say about the Carpet Kid Surround? She's walked in. 3 lengths in front now. Ashbar and Shane Walk battle it out for the minors.
Throughout the history of thoroughbred horse racing, there are many examples of the bond between a horse and a jockey, but none stronger than the bond between Alan Trevina and the great Surround.
He had an added advantage too. Before Surround came along, I rode a lot of horses that turned out to be champions. So I had a bit of a feeling what an extra special horse was like. But once you get that feeling, it is just another thing you cannot describe to anybody. I've never ridden one like. I've ridden some very good horses since Surround. I rode very good horses before Surround, even champion horses, but she was extra special to me because she was my horse.
Now Trevina says go. The filly moves up to the mare. Surround put her head in front, and here it is. 9 in a row now for Surround. She's coming away, and the mighty filly won at 1.25 lengths to how now. 2.5.
The story started when Jeff Murphy, that astute judge of horseflesh, spotted Surround as a weanling at Patrick Hogan's Cambridge stud in New Zealand.
So let's go out in the paddock and look at the weanlings. So we looked at a few, and I said, what's that grey one over there? And he said, well, you don't want it, it's back at his knees and this and that. And so I said, I like it. So we walked over and I said, I'll take it. He said, well, Bart was here yesterday, he didn't like it. But I said, yeah, but Bart liked it. I like it. And so next year I went back and she'd grown and lovely filly, and so just throw her straight in the plane if you don't mind. And it turned out to be Surround, so it was a good selection.
When she first started, she didn't really impress me as much better than just a horse. And I remember a nice little grey filly that was a little bit immature. Used to ride a track work every morning and didn't think anything special of her.
Alan remembers his first win on Surround.
It was a 900-metre race. She drew barrier 17, extreme outside of the field. She began very, very quickly, and inside 1 furlong, she's on the fence and leading, and she won very, very comfortably. She was sort of an immature little filly that showed a bit of potential. Like she had won at Caulfield, and Sandown win, a bit disappointing, but she was probably a little bit shin sore or something on the day when Trixie Lass, I think, just beat her. She just beat Trixie Lass, and I was very disappointed in the run because I thought she'd win by 100 yards. And she had to really fight to win, and she won. So Jeff's got to have to take immature type horses to Queensland because over the winter it just works wonders on them.
Then Murphy brought her back and gave her that now well-documented barrier trial at Cranbourne.
Before our barrier trial, we had another filly in the stable called Savoir. And Savoir was probably the unluckiest 3-year-old, been around for a long, long time because she had Surround as a stablemate. But on that particular day, I rode Savoir in an earlier trial, and she trialled particularly well and won the trial. And then the following trial, I rode Surround, and like I said, I just thought she was a handy filly, good filly. And never, ever in my life, anywhere even till today, have I ever rode a horse that has won anything any easier. She just stepped out. She never got out of first gear. She won the barrier trial in unbelievably easy fashion, and all of a sudden I woke. There's something special underneath me.
After that trial, she won at Moonee Valley before lining up in the Ascot Vale Stakes against the country's best 3-year-olds. Does Jeff Murphy recall at what odds Surround started that day?
Yes, I do. She was 12 to 1. Because I remember saying to Higgins, he rode Cummings as he was 7 to 4 walking around the mounting yard, and I said, hey, come here. So what I said, have a good look at her backside because that's all you'll see. And he goes, you're just smart, mate. And that's what exactly happened. That's all he ever did see of it, too.
At her next start, she took on the Colts again in the Moonee Valley Stakes.
I remember it very well. Moonee Valley Stakes was run at Sandown Park that year. But Savoir, as I said before, she was very unlucky. Savoir was an exceptionally good filly. But Surround was just far superior, and it was just, at no stage of the race was Surround ever going to lose.
He's racing now. Jumped away in a pretty good line. Great Lover, one of the first out with Romantic Dream and Chester Bellotta. Bernard now heading them all off, racing around the outside of the field as they settle down into stride. A great battle up the hill. Bernard ridden for dear life, led from Unaware and Ecuador.
I was happy to run in the Caulfield Guineas.
Blockbuster is up with
I'm a bit sorry she wasn't in the Derby. But in the Caulfield Guineas, I remember Surround cut back a fair way in the race. As they're coming towards the home turn, I remember, I think I was running 6th or 7th or 8th, you know, I was back sort of midfield or worse. And just up in front of me, the horse called Family of Man. It was a very good horse. And something went through my, two things went through my mind in the Caulfield Guineas. One was as we came round the home turn and the old Guineas stand there at Caulfield, I heard over the course broadcasters, which you can hear in races, and you know, most jockeys can tell you do hear odd things, and I heard the course broadcaster say, "And here comes Family of Man." And a thought went through my mind, which I'll never forget, you better have a look about 2 lengths behind him, because I've got him well beat.
On the turn now with 400 to go. And the leader, Bernard. On the outside, Wise Drawer, and here's Family of Man moving up to grab them in a stride. Family of Man dash to the lead. Surrounds out after it quickly. They're followed by Unaware. Romantic Dreams not in the race. At the 200, Surround and Family of Man are the two leaders. The filly's taken the lead, Surround. Unaware's battling on from Great Lover, but this mighty filly Surround striding away from them. And Surround's going to win the Caulfield Guineas by 2.5 lengths. Family of Man second.
And then the premier weight for age race of Australasia, the WS Cox Plate. But a sad note, as for the first time, Trevena was separated from the filly because he couldn't make the weight. Peter Cook got the ride.
I'll never forget it, because I know Peter pretty well, we're good friends. And just before the race, Peter was watching a race in Sydney, and one of the horses he was riding and just won. He said, "Oh God, I should have been over there, you know, riding that." And I said, "No, you win the Cox Plate on this filly." Well, no filly in history had ever won the Cox Plate, and still hasn't to this day. And that particular day, she did win the Cox Plate. She did run a race record. I was extremely proud of her, and something no other horse is ever going to do. They might have broke a record, but they'll never run it on another total eclipse of the sun.
Racing now. Jumped away very well. Great Lover, one of the first out with Unaware and Northbridge Lad, and perhaps being ridden early with the whip. Surround began brilliantly and is going to head them all off and go to the rails.
No man alive today or ever could have rode her a better race than Peter Cook. Absolutely brilliant ride. I mentioned to Peter before the race that you think she's asleep in the barrier, but don't take notice of that, because you just touch her, she'll begin, you know, but just sit there, think she's asleep, she'll begin first. She always did. Brilliant out of the boxes. I said, and when you want her to go, don't have to hit her with it, just pull the whip on and show it to her. That's all you have to do. And I think if I remember rightly, about 500 metres from home, the Cox Plate was making ground on the fence. Peter was running up on the rails, terrific ride. Pulled the whip on and showed her the whip, ping out, she went outside the leader home.
Up the side with 600 metres to go. It's Unaware, a half to Elton, a half to Purple Patch. One to Surround on the fence, a half Tara's Bulba, he's gone. How now commencing her run, and then perhaps followed behind those horses then on the inside by Northbridge Lad from Better Draw. Unaware booted away at the 400, 2 lengths to Surround out after him. It's coming at him quickly, and they were followed by Purple Patch, and next is How Now. Surround raced to Unaware. The 3-year-olds look to have it between them from Better Draw. Surround put her head in front as they straightened from Unaware under the whip, and then Better Draw, How Now, and Kiwi Can. But Surround, the mighty champion, is striding right away, and Surround's won it by 3 lengths.
Surround made it 8 wins on end, with a win in the VRC Oaks at her next start.
Around them to take the lead, and Savoy led at the 400 from Snow Mist and Red Rebecca. Then came Surround going out after it from In Pursuit, and off 2 Cities running on well. It's Savoy at the 200, a length and a half to Surround, who's under pressure. Then came off 2 Cities. It's Savoy tackled by Surround. She might still be too good. Surround moved up the stablemates together. Surround has taken the lead. And this mighty filly's got her 8th win in succession, staring at her. And Surround comes away to win 2.5 lengths to Savoy.
She was then spelled in preparation for the autumn of 77. She made it 10 wins on end, with her first up win in the CF4 and then the Blamey Stakes. Her amazing sequence of wins ended like this.
Her winning run has ended. Bonfield shot away from Surround and Bold Mayo and then Toy Show. And Bonfield's going on to win 1.5 lengths to Surround.
Alan didn't ride her well. He didn't, he rode it badly, and he was starting to get a bit, not for, but getting the jitters a bit about getting beaten. He said, "Oh, I hope it doesn't get beaten." I said, "It won't get beaten, just, you know," and he was starting to lose a bit of confidence, and because that day he rode it shocking, you know, and because she didn't win.
To them, I rode Surround a perfect race in the Pachuri. But in my mind, I reckon I rode a terrible race. Now, Bonfield came from last, a very ordinary horse, Bonfield, a handy horse, Bonfield, not ordinary, handy horse. He come round the field, Mick Gorham rode, he come round the field from last and killed me. Now, if it had been surrounded 25-1 chance in the Futurity Stakes, I wouldn't have been riding them in the box seat. I wouldn't have been running third or whatever it was, fourth, sitting there and like having him ready to win, starting him home. I would have been second last. I think it was only about 9 runners, something like that. I would have been 8th, just in front of Bonfield. I might have been 9th by him. As he went round the field, I would have went round with him, and I've got no doubt in my mind Surround would have won the Futurity Stakes. But the pressure had got to all of us that I was afraid to ride her what people thought was a bad race, but which I knew, and only I knew, would have been the way to ride her. But he cowered the way out.
After a 4th in the Australian Cup, she dead heated in the Alistair Clark Stakes at Moonee Valley and then headed to Sydney for the AJC Oaks. In her lead-up race, the Champion Stakes, she got more than she bargained for.
You know, they did deal with her there. They knocked her from one side of the track to the other and just poor little thing. She came in, honestly, and she was shivering and shaking out. So that's how much buffeting she got.
Different and somewhat arrogant tactics were then employed for the AJC Oaks.
Just pull her right back near last. When you get to half mile, just go right around the lot. And Quinton and all them had turned their heads looking where she was. And by the time they found her, she'd gone past them.
Her final campaign as a 3-year-old was in Brisbane, where she won the Queensland Oaks and the Grand Prix Stakes. Surround raced 4 times as a 4-year-old before injuring a tendon and being retired to stud.
I think it's the best horse I've ever had and probably the best I've ever likely to get. And, you know, I won a lot of money on her and, you know, we were very confident those days. You know, when you thought you could win, you just bet accordingly.
She's such a beautiful horse. If you could cook, you'd marry her. Ah, there'll never be another one like her. No, these days they drop the tag of champion on so many horses. I've seen horses, I've read the paper about up in the farm, and people say, oh, as good as Surround. Yeah, that's all I ever say. Yeah, as good as Surround. She won 10 straight, she beat the Colts and Gelding. She's still only 3-1 Cox Plate. To me, she's always going to be something extra special to me, and oh, gee, I love it. You know, all good things come to an end.
Now Trevina shakes her round up. She shot away 2 in front.
On the inside, he's still got a big grip on Blazing Saddles.
Luskin Star, a comet flew across the sky.
Coming home at him now, though. Luskin Star tackling Blazing Saddles at the 200, clear of Princess Deliria.
He was a brilliant 2-year-old, magnificent 2-year-old. I actually, in the year that he won the Golden Slipper, I rode a little horse called Blazing Saddles, whom I'd won the Blue Diamond on, and also the Black Opal. And we went into that race thinking we had a good chance, and I'd hit the front about 200 metres out that day, and I think my best memory of Luskin Star was at around about the 150 to 200 metre mark. There was a shadow went past me. I thought I was in slow motion. I've never seen a 2-year-old finish a race off like that. That was an incredible performance.
I'd say Luskin Star's win in the Golden Slipper was the best win I've ever seen. I rode Century Miss before she went to Sydney and she won a Golden Slipper. But Luskin Star, she was a very good filly, but Luskin Star was just in a class of his own. I haven't seen a horse before Luskin Star or a horse since win a Golden Slipper against the best in Australasia the way he did. And I mean, he was in against horses that day that were the best in the land. Horses like Blazing Saddles were very good horses, and he just went past them like they were standing still. And to go to the line like he did, 10 lengths in front of them in a Golden Slipper, I mean, it was astronomical.
Well, at the 3 furlongs, say, I was sort of riding him along a little bit, to sort of hands and heels just to keep up. He was never a horse that really travelled on the bit through a race. He'd just drop the bit and you'd just go along and you'd have to just click him up all the time. Turning into the straight, he just pulled him out 3 and 4 deep and he just went past them easy.
Blazing Saddles, one of the first out, and Luskin Star began very well. So did Pacific Prince. Red Cat beaten for early pace, and so is Bowles S. Naisco, and King of the Stars a fair way back. Blazing Saddles is going to lead them, and Mistress Anne's gone up on the outside of him and now takes over. And after about 300 metres, it's Mistress Anne a length and a half to Blazing Saddles, a half to Mondiso, close up King's Frolic out wide, Luskin Star's right there in the middle. On the rails, Pacific Prince a length further back, Lloyd Boy beaten for pace, and then Star System on the outside of him. Red Cat is next, and they were followed on the outside by going around them, making a bit of ground, King of the Stars, and ahead of the others, Naisco. Bowles Est a long way back from Red Cat, and Live On was last. On the bend, 4.50 to go, and it's Mistress Anne in front by 3/4 of a length to Blazing Saddles. 2 lengths away in third place, Princess Teleria. Pacific Prince next on the inside. He's still got a big grip on Blazing Saddles, and he's zoomed to the lead. On the outside, Luskin Star coming home at him now, though. Luskin Star tackling Blazing Saddles at the 200, clear of Princess Teleria. Lloyd Boy running on, but Luskin Star had raced past Blazing Saddles in the closing stages, and Luskin Star is going to win, pulling up. Lloyd Boy will get up for second, but a very, very impressive win by Luskin Star is won by 6 lengths. Lloyd Boy...
Max Lees, the trainer.
Well, I liked him I seen him before he went to the sales, and I never had no one to buy him when he went to the sales and just passed in. And how I come to buy him then, one of the part owners, John Borkham, come and see me after the sales and asked me, was there any horses passed in that I liked? And I told him about this chestnut colt, and we drove up one Sunday morning to have a look at him, and he brought him there on the spot.
He remembers sending Luskin Star out as a sparring partner for another horse in his stable, Top Wing.
He'd actually was coming up for the Villiers, and I thought he had a good chance in the Villiers, and the other horse was only a 2-year-old untried, and I wanted something to go along 3 furlongs with him, so I put this colt with him, and I told the jockey that rode him to hold him back to the other horse, and it was the other way around. He had to hold Luskin Star back to Top Wing, and I said, well, how good's this horse, you know?
And there was his amazing first-up performance in the AJC Breeders' Plate.
I was very surprised at the ease of his win. I thought he could win, but 15 or 12 to 15 lengths was a big margin.
Then his great win in the Champagne Stakes.
I didn't really want to lead on him in that race, and there's no pace on, so I went to the front, and coming up the rise, one of Smith's horse, I think Kevin Langby's riding it, came up on the outside of me, and I waited at the top of the rise, just let him go, and he just went away and won by 4 or 5 lengths, and that was probably the best win for me for him. I really enjoyed winning that race.
Luskin Star's win in the Champagne made him the highest stakes-winning 2-year-old ever in Australia.
Well, he's the only horse that's ever won those 3 races at that distance. Only 2-year-old that's ever done it. And then we took him to Brisbane, and he won the size in Brisbane and the Marlborough over a mile, and smashed the course record for a mile with 58 in his day. So I don't think there was a 2-year-old that ever would have beat him at that time. After that, I don't think the horse improved any as a 3-year-old. I think he didn't get any better, you know. He was a matured 2-year-old and probably was at his top then.
A comet flashed across the sky. Although Luskin Star contested and won more races, he never reproduced the stunning brilliance of his 2-year-old days. He began his 3-year-old career in the Canterbury Stakes and was an unlucky second to Romantic Dream.
Luskin Star stretching out. Now he flattened to Raise Your Glass. It's coming to the line. Luskin Star just in front of Romantic Dream. Nothing in it. Head and head they go, and it's near enough to a dead heat.
He then won the Cameron Quality at Newcastle with John Letts in the saddle, and came to Melbourne for the Caulfield Guineas with Roy Higgins
in the
aboard.
straight, guns away the leader. Higgins has got a run on Luskin Star. Out wider is Princess Teleria, but Luskin Star raced to the lead with 200 to go. He's just in front now, but drawing away from Princess Teleria and guns away. And the champ from Newcastle, a length and a half in front. Princess Teleria coming at him. Luskin Star's going to win it. He's not getting away, but he's won it a half length to Princess Teleria.
At his next start, he lined up in the Cox Plate. Letts was again the rider.
You know, coming to the turn, he'd travel well in the run, but at the turn he just couldn't get the distance, but he was an out-and-out champion, he was.
I never ever wanted to make the horse stay because I thought he was too brilliant, and I didn't really want to run him in the Cox Plate, the last run that I gave him. After he won the Caulfield Guineas in Melbourne, I wanted to bring him home then, but Connections wanted to run him in the Cox Plate because he had a lightweight, and he had everything against him, but he drew the outside, and I just didn't think he was ready to run in it.
Soon after the Cox Plate, Luskin Star was sold to a syndicate headed by international owner Robert Sangster and was transferred to Bart Cummings.
Yeah, well, I knew once they brought the horse, but I wasn't going to get the horse to train then. I knew he was going to go somewhere else. And I wasn't actually upset because, you know, I thought I'd had the best out of the horse really, because he'd won all them races and it was up to them to try and do more with him then. And they tried to make him stay then, and that's where they only rode him back and then run him in the Galaxy. They tried to make him run in the Champion Stakes. They were getting him ready for that, but he just couldn't stay. He was too brilliant.
He had 4 starts for Cummings, winning 3, the Expressway, Far Lap and Galaxy Stakes in the autumn of '78, and was then retired to stud. A comet flashed across the sky, and the memory will never leave us. Reckless. In his early career, he raced 33 times without success and was called the professional maiden. But today, he is remembered as the people's horse. After winning his first race at Flemington as a 5-year-old over 2,500 metres in October 1975, he was given a long spell and returned to win at Flemington in August 1976 over 1,600 metres. His first major success was in the Hotham Handicap on Derby Day of that year.
200 to go and Summerhay coasted up the Reckless. Reckless just in front. Stocker pulled the whip on Summerhay. Reckless won't give in. I think it might hang on. Reckless just in front, and it's outstayed Summerhay to win by a neck.
This win assured him of a run in the Melbourne Cup the following Tuesday. However, the infamous storm of that year ruined his chances, and he finished 4th.
Never seen a race like this in my life. Happy Union is still the leader. Down the outside, Van der Hum. And what's this one? Reckless. It could be right down the extreme outside, and Golden Black too. Reckless on the Van der Hum now is joined in, and Van der Hum shortly afterwards takes the lead at the 100-metre mark. Van der Hum is holding Golden Black at bay, and Van der Hum is going to win the Cup. Van der Hum's got on to win from Golden Black. A photo for third, give it a Kythera. They're followed by Reckless in behind them.
He proved, however, that the 2 miles was not beyond him. And in the autumn of '77, Reckless, trainer Tommy Woodcock and jockey Pat Trotter began their Cup's rampage with a commando-like raid on the Sydney Cup.
He'd taken a horse there previously, some years ago, and it had done very badly travelling and change of water, change of food and all those things, and I think he thought it out very, very carefully, that the way to do it was to just go, do your racing and then come back, which is, you know, what he organised with Reckless. Took all the water, I might add, with him. Took all the water down from the stable area with him, so they had no change, took all his own feed and everything like that.
Tommy flew the horse up the morning of the race, and I worked him at Randwick about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I said to Tommy, I think it's his day today. He was a lazy horse, you know, you always had to make him do something in the race, but I had a very good run in the race, and once we turned the corner, I knew that I had a lot of horse underneath me. He had a very light weight of 49.5, and I knew that I could pick up Golden Black and win, and which he did.
Black raced immediately to the lead, being tackled immediately on the outside by Tara's Regent. Balmerino's waiting for a run between them, and they were followed by Popular Demand and Reckless. Golden Black led coming to the 200. Balmerino's being asked the big question now, but Golden Black's holding him. The Balmerino can't win. Reckless is the danger to Golden Black. Reckless tackling Golden Black. He's off the track, Reckless, but he's headed Golden Black, and Reckless comes away to win by a length to Golden Black. Third, Dimitri. Fourth, Popular Demand.
And who will forget the heroism of his win in the Brisbane Cup?
A half mile to go, Peter Cook passed me, and you know, I thought I was a beaten horse. And then after we straightened up, I just kept at the horse, and he kept giving something. He was a game horse. He got galloped on that day behind, and you know, he got up and beat Narwini that day, and like, that was a real gutsy effort.
My good man swept up and went past them now. My good man got to the lead, but here's Narwini on the outside, and Reckless chiming in with Golden Crown in the centre. Narwini held the lead on the outside. Reckless is out after him. Narwini holding to the lead. Reckless trying to peg him back, and on the inside, my good man on the outside. Reckless got up to win. From Narwini and my good man, what a finish.
Tommy said at that time he'd never seen a horse carry an injury as high as that and continue on. And he was pouring blood when he came back, you know, to the mounting yard. In fact, Tommy didn't wait for anybody or anything, you know, presentations or anything. He and the horse disappeared, gone. he was very concerned about him, and he carried that scar right to his death.
And, of course, there was the Adelaide Cup.
When he arrived in Adelaide, Tommy noticed that he was having a hoof problem, and he had an attack of thrush in the hoof, and he was concerned about it. So he actually managed to win the Adelaide Cup with 3 good legs and 1 a bit doubtful, or 1 good foot, 1 not good foot.
Winning the Sydney, Brisbane and Adelaide Cups in the one year had never been done before or since. But then, on the first Tuesday of November 1977, the Cup all Australia wanted him to win.
Tommy was giving children rides on his back and around the back of it. It was quite, it was a bit like when I went to Epsom, you know, almost expected the gypsies to appear, and it was a very carnival, relaxed, happy time. I couldn't say that there was any pressure or tension around the Reckless stall at all. It just wasn't.
They're racing. A perfect dispatch too. Wave King on the inside. Jumped out well with Grey Affair. Hyperno got out smartly. Just behind them, Happy Union getting up into a handy position, and they were being followed by Valadero, and further out on the track is Sir Serena. Major Till is very prominent just in behind them, followed by Masuk, and Ming Dynasty is going up on the outside, followed by Family of Man. Salamander trying to get across, and just in behind them came Gold Pulse, and they're followed by Shaitan. And Brelos is last, racing down towards the 400 in the straight the first time. Unaware on the outside has moved up to be one of the leaders with Hyperno. Major Till is close handy, and down the outside is Salamander up there with them 4 deep. A length further back over on the inside. At the head of the others came Wave King, Ming Dynasty over on the fence just behind them. Going forward quickly there with Sir Serene, and they were followed by Grey Affair in a packed field as they raced down towards the judge with just over a lap to go. Vacuum on the outside, and where the rails together. About a half length to Salamander, followed by Hyperno on the inside of Major Till. A length and a half to Happy Union. They're followed by Wave King on the inside. Ming Dynasty is further back, a length and a half. Sir Serena. They're followed by Beau's Demand as they go to the straight. Back on the rails, Grey Affair. A length to Family of Man. Back on the inside came Peatkin on the inside of Reckless. A length and a half to Gold Pulse. Golden Black is well back in the field, followed by Trockeye, and then came Shaitan. Brelos about 4th last on the outside of Yashmak, followed next to last by Royal Cadenza. And last year's winner, Vanderham, is back at the tail of the field. Along the back, they travel up past Chiquita Lodger, and it's a race of changes now, where Sir Serena's dashed to the lead in the Cup. It's Sir Serene, the leader, about a length in advance of Major Till. On the outside of Happy Union, a length and a half to Vacuum, followed by Hyper.
200 metres out, I was going to win the race. I raced up inside Golden Black, and then the pressure started to tell. He was wanting to get in a little bit, and you know, Golden Black on the day was just too good for him. But you know, I was very disappointed, because I did think the horse could win, and I think all of Australia thought the same thing. But you know, I never lost any. I wasn't disappointed in the horse at all. He'd give his best, and on the day, Golden Black was just too good.
500 metres left to go now, and down on the inside, Hyperno's dashed to the lead. Hyperno's got a glorious run on the inside to go up and take the lead. It's clear from Major Till down the outside. Family of Man there, followed by Unaware. Golden Black is finishing very fast out deep on the track, and so is Reckless. Coming down with about 250 to go, and Hyperno about to be tackled by Golden Black. Golden Black on the outside has got to the front. Reckless is coming after it. Golden Black in front, 100 to go from Reckless, joining in. Golden Black tackled by Reckless on the inside. Golden Black the outer, Reckless the rails. Golden Black just in front. Golden Black will win the Cup. Golden Black has won it.
I felt all right. I thought old Reckless was going to go all right. The track was good. And, you know, I had great hopes with him, because I used to space his races about, you know, 3 or 4 weeks before. And he was working all right, but, you know, on the day, I suppose the best horse beat him on the day, but he didn't disgrace himself, that old Reckless, did he? To see all the people come round after he got beat even and gave him 3 cheers, well, that was nearly as good as winning the Melbourne Cup to win, you know that?
But what of this man, this legend, Tommy Woodcock? What does he say about this other famous horse in his life?
He was a special old horse. He just put me in mind of old Philip. He used to do a lot of things old Philip used to do. Reckless, he's a very kind, quiet horse. And truly speaking, I had a terrible lot of enjoyment out of Reckless. You know, people coming, the little kids, he wanted to ride on him, you know. And he was that kind of horse, you could put 4 or 5 little kids on his back at once. And at Moonee Valley there one day, it was that many people round him at Moonee Valley, And the poor old fellow used to look around and wouldn't dare to move for he might tread on one. And they were pulling his tail, they was under his belly, they was everywhere. Because Reckless was a 6-year-old stallion, and it's unbelievable what sort of nature that horse had. Always had something in my mind that he could be all right, you know. And I liked him that much, and several wanted, Jack Winder wanted to buy him to take him to New Zealand and make a steeplechaser out of him. And I said, not in your life. I said, you won't buy him, I'm going to buy him myself. And to do that to him, so anyhow, he was always a big, fat, robust sort of horse. And I said to Mrs. Godfrey, we'll turn him out. And I said, let him get poor. He's always, you know, stiff-going sort of fellow. So anyhow, we turned him out and let him get poor. And I had a little boy from Queensland, Gregory Cornish, just come down with me. And I was always boasting what a lovely horse Reckless was, you know, lovely looking horse. And when he came back from his spell, Greg was there, and when they let him off the float, he said, what would that be? What donkey's that? I said, that's Reckless. Oh, he said, we got better looking Brumbies up there than him.
But of course, the horse did a lot for him.
He kept saying to me over again, and I'm sure this has been documented, that he used to say to me, Mrs. Walker, he said, this horse has added 10 years to my life. He said, it's the greatest fun I could have had.
The Perth Cup, the last race for the People's Horse.
Half the journey completed as they go inside the 1600. Whisper of Spring by a length from Catcher King. In third place, Lordwood going up on the outside, most rewarding poise behind them on the rails. Then came Farron Four outside, Golden Center, 1 length Masook from the bird catcher and Shah's Legend. The length away from Farron Four, followed by Golden Center. Then came Shah's Legend, Reckless down the outside from Masook, but 100 metres in and Muros in front from Farron Four and Golden Center. Reckless is coming home, but it's going to be too late. Muros in front, Golden Center coming up, Muros, and Golden Center's good up to win the Cup by a head from Muros. Third was Reckless, fourth Farron Four.
The retirement of Reckless virtually ended the great days of Better Boys stock. But like his great predecessor, Reckless became famous for his relationship with that wonderful little man, Tommy Woodcock. And he himself recognised that by paying the horse the compliment of giving him the rug of the Great Phar Lap. After moderate success as a sire, Reckless died on June 6, 1986. To quote age journalist Tony Kennedy, the only other racehorse I can recall having similar public appeal was the champion mare Tranquil Star in the early 1940s. Many horses have captured the public's imagination, none more than Tulloch and Burnborough since World War II. But not since Tranquil Star has a great horse's nature gripped the public more than Reckless. Strawberry Road. The very name suggests a journey to the end of the rainbow. And for some schoolmates who bred the son of Whiskey Road from a mare they purchased for $3,000, it certainly was. Strawberry Road. Not a pretty horse, but an impressive dark bay with a flowing black mane and legs of steel. Trainer Doug Bagur and Strawberry Road first came to notice in August '82 when the 3-year-old burst onto the scene in a maiden win at Eagle Farm.
Strawberry Road fought on, drifted out to the centre, but he's the leader from Chief Mate. Strawberry Road going strongly to the line, and Strawberry Road won the money.
Strawberry Road's 3-year-old campaign in Sydney started badly in the Hobartville Stakes.
Third on the fence, Tristram Lad. Kiamare on the outside, fourth.
This all changed in the Rosehill Guineas, with Mick Dittman aboard.
Full bore now, 2.5 lengths away. Third is Tristram Lad. Mr. Jazz followed then by Kiamare, and Veloso a good way back, but coming to the 200, the Queenslander giving a great sight. Strawberry Road. He kicked, and Strawberry Road's about 2 lengths clear on Mr. McGetty, making no headway. A good gap Veloso, followed by Mr. Jazz, and then Tristram Lad, but it's a banana land Rosehill Guineas. Strawberry Road, he's much too good.
His next start, the AJC Derby.
I knew Whiskey Road would handle the going, but when we walked the track that afternoon, there was Neville Lyon, my daughter Liz, and she had high heel shoes on, and she went down right to the blooming sole and left the shoe in the mud. I said, God, I said to Neville, this is going to be nice and heavy. And I said, went and had a talk to Mick Ditton about it. Well, he said, Doug, he said, he's super fit. He said, they won't beat him just like that. Well, I said, as long as you're happy, Mick, that suits me.
Around the corner now, and it's Strawberry Road by about 3/4 of a length on Kia Murray. A length of Veloso popped the question, and about 3 or 4 then to Mr. McGinty. On top of the horizon, the Queenslander Strawberry Road. He's a length and a half Veloso and 2 1/2 to Kia Murray. But Strawberry Road, he's going great guns. Veloso making no impression on him, and the Queensland combination of L. Dittman and Strawberry Road are absolutely donkey-licking their rivals. Veloso second, a minute away third, Kia Murray.
The second horse is Veloso, owned by John Singleton and Larry Pickering. As Singleton said later, but for Strawberry Road, he would have won the Derby by 16 lengths. A fact he was to remember when he subsequently bought a share in the champion. He returned to Queensland to pick up the Queensland Derby and the Horse of the Year award. He then campaigned in Melbourne in the spring of '83 for what proved to be the climax of his Australian career. His first start there was the Freeway Stakes.
Strawberry Road joined by Toy Pindari on the corner. A length away, Red Tempo's coming hard, and then in the slot, Brummel Who. It's Toy Pindari and Strawberry Road into the straight. A length to Red Tempo. Strawberry Road a neck in front of Toy Pindari. He's drawn a half clear now. Red Tempo on the outside coming out after him, but Strawberry Road in front. Red Tempo trying hard, but Strawberry Road, he's a champ. Wins at a length and a half, Red Tempo, a great run hit.
After suffering defeat at the hands of Red Tempo in the Memsie Stakes, he had his revenge in the Centennial.
Round the 800 corner, Belsia Boy, a neck to Cossack Prince, 2 lengths to Strawberry Road. Red Tempo, Thompson's going to try and put Dittman in a pocket here. Can he do it? Then 2 lengths away, Bin Binger and Wholesome. Coming by the 600, Dittman's awake. He pulls out 3 deep. Cossack Prince beat Belsia Boy off, and now Strawberry Road 3 deep. And on the outside, Red Tempo 4 deep, challenge the leaders. Strawberry Road and Red Tempo have gone to the front at the 500 from Cossack Prince, 3 lengths to Wholesome. It's Red Tempo the outer, Strawberry Road the inner, kicking away. They've got a 3 lengths break on Cossack Prince and Wholesome. Each horse going as well as the other. Strawberry Road and Red Tempo turn together, nothing in it, 3 lengths Cossack Prince. Thompson now about to go for the whip on Red Tempo. Strawberry Road ahead in front. Red Tempo trying to get to him, but Strawberry Road's doing a little bit better. And it's a $500,000 up for Strawberry Road. He comes away from Red Tempo. Wins a length and a half. Cossack Prince third, fourth.
There they are, the happy owners, the self-styled Macedonian mountain men. After a 4th in the Caulfield Stakes, he lined up for the one that meant so much, the Cox Plate.
Racing, Emancipation away well on the inside. Kiwi Slave and Tresaro both slow. Away quickly also, Sadapper and Albany Bay and Strawberry Road come to London.
He was very good at Moonee Valley. I knew Cox Plate always run with a lot of speed, which suits this horse. You know, the faster the run race, the better he likes it, because you can settle him, you know. If he's chasing, he's a much better horse. So he drew a good alley in the Cox Plate, and, you know, I was quite pleased with his chances leading up to the race. I thought, well, you know, the speed's going to be on, and if he can have the luck, he won't be far away.
600 out, they pack up, and Fine Offer bolted round the outside to go to the lead. He's had no luck, but he's charged to the lead. From Handsome Seattle, Perfect Bliss, Come to London's gone. Strawberry Road trying to get out of a pocket. Here's Sadapper, hooked 4 or 5 wide with Mr. McGinty. 2 to Tresaro, LA Bijou, Albany Bay. Emancipation's last on the corner. Fine Offer and Handsome Seattle. Mr. McGinty and Sir Dapper and Strawberry Road. They're all out and after the leaders on the corner now. It's Strawberry Road dashing to the lead from Fine Offer. Then Mr. McGinty beaten from Sir Dapper, but Strawberry Road, my goodness, he's a different horse today. He's going to walk in. Kiwi Slave coming from last, going to run second. Strawberry Road's won it by 4 lengths. Second, Kiwi Slave. Third, Mr. McGinty. Fourth, Hanson.
And that's where we leave his Australian campaign, with the best yet to come. Remember John Singleton, who watched Straub's defeat Veloso? Well, he didn't forget, and he introduced the world to the equine version of Paul Hogan, a true ambassador for Australia. His new trainer was John Nichols.
He approached the owners and, on the back of a betting ticket, wrote a promise to pay them quite a large amount of money for a half share in the horse, with the original intention, I think, of just standing him at stud at Prince's Farm, which he owned at the time. And that led to me getting him, because he's in partnerships with Ray Steer in quite a few business ventures and now quite a few race horses. And he invited Ray to buy a few shares in the horse as a stallion. I act as a consultant to Ray, as well as training. I advise him
quite a bit on what he should do with his horses, etc. And he rang me with a great idea to buy a couple of shares in Strawberry Road as a stallion. And a man with no brood mares, I thought it was a rather strange idea. So I suggested that he stay out of the enterprise and not worry about it. Well, he rang me a week later and said I bought quite a few shares in him. He paid for half of John Singleton's half shares. So now he had a quarter of a horse that he had no mares for. And he said, what would you do with him? And I said, well, he's the best racehorse in the country. I couldn't see why you wouldn't race him. And so Ray said, well, what would you do with him? I said, well, I'd take him to Europe. Being an expert, he knew nothing about European racing other than spending 3 days there. And so he said, well, put a plan together and we'll take it to John and see what he thinks about it. And we got on the plane and offloaded in France and went to the stable of one of the leading trainers there, a guy called Patrick Biancone, who's since come out here for the International Tancred in '88. And we settled in there. The horse was magic. I've never seen a horse adapt so quickly to what was a very different lifestyle of what he was used to and a very different lifestyle of what I was used to. And I put my foot right in my mouth when I said take him to Europe. But we were very lucky. We were in good hands over there, and the horse was unbelievable. That horse had the greatest constitution, I think, of any horse you could never get to the bottom of Strawberry Road. There was no bottom at the end of the pit.
At his first start overseas in Germany, he was beaten ahead in a Group 3 race over 1,600 metres.
And then 8 days later, we ran in the Grosser Prix von Baden, which is a Group 1 mile-and-a-half race there. And it attracts horses from England, Italy, France, and horses that are leading up to the Arc. It's a race that does lead into the Arc. And he was magnificent, absolutely magnificent. Horse.
He was ridden by Brent Thompson, who replaced the injured Lester Piggott.
Lester was very keen to ride the horse, but he'd fallen off 2 weeks earlier and couldn't get a medical clearance in time to ride him. So fortunately we were able to get Brent, and he rode him a superb race. My opinion of the horse, and I mean an unbiased opinion, which I suppose it can't be, but the horse had one of the greatest constitutions I think you'd find in an athlete. You look through his record here, he'd raced in tough company, in the best company all the time and performed well. He'd won the best races and won them easily. He was he came to a time at the end of a long campaign and only had 4 weeks break when I put him on the plane to go overseas. It's a thing that has only been done once or twice, and it takes a super horse to go through 7 months of different water, different feed, different routine, and world-class competition and still come out on top. And if you go anywhere in the world today, in racing centres like Chantilly or Newmarket or Santa Anita or Hollywood Park, and mention the name Strawberry Road or that you're from Australia, the first thing they'll say to you is, oh, Strawberry Road. So he left his mark wherever he went.
Strawberry Road ended his career overseas as the highest stakes-earning male ever to race in Europe to that time, with in excess of $2.2 million. His best performances included a second to the champion mare Pebbles in the Breeders' Cup Turf, and an unlucky third in the Washington International. During his overseas campaign, he was sold again and finished his career racing in the colours of international aviation billionaire Alan Paulson. Strawberry Road now stands at stud in Kentucky. This is the finish of the 1979 Melbourne Cup. To study a horse by commencing with his death seems strange, until you know the horse is Dulcify. For the death of this horse stopped a nation that had stopped to watch the Cup.
On the turn now, 500 metres left to go in the Cup. Sarfraz is joined by Halberg. Red Nose putting its way into it now. They're followed then back behind them by Salamander. And down the outside running on fairly is Worry Symbol. Dulcify's broken down in the Cup. Dulcify's broken down. 300 metres left to go. Here's a real charge now. Halberg just in front of Red Nose. Salamander getting through near the inside and Hyperno Abueda. There's 5 in line.
Dulcify was one of those horses you appreciate more in retrospect. 2 examples. His great win in the Australian Cup was underestimated at the time because he started at 80-1 and defeated the great horse Manicato. More was said of his shock defeat than of Dulcify's great performance to come back from near death on the Nullarbor Plain.
400 out and Willits hasn't let go and Manicato's 2 in front. Now he goes for it, 3 in front from Turf Ruler. Lemaire's gone. Then Double Century, Lloyd Boyd, Dulcify trying to get out from Salamander, Family of Man. With 200 to go, Willits waving the whip at Manicato. The champion 3-year-old's well clear, but Family of Man's flying down the outside. Manicato stopping, and Dulcify will beat them. Dulcify gets the split and gets up to beat Manicato. Third, Family of Man. Fourth, Stormy Rex.
Equally, his great win in the AJC Derby was diminished by the fact that he won on protest from Double Century.
Dulcify have raced to the lead at the 200 and they've come away. Double Century on the inside. Dulcify's almost drawn level with him there, clear of Cafe and Brandy's different career. There's nothing between them. Double Century's carrying Dulcify right off the course. Double Century, the leader, will win the Derby, but there'll be almost certainly a protest. Double Century a length to Dulcify, 5 lengths away third, maybe March to Glory.
Double Century went on to win the Sydney Cup, and this was seen by some as proof that he should have retained the Derby, whereas the subsequent feats of Dulcify did equally as much, if not more, to justify his being awarded the race. In fact, it was not till his win in the W.S. Cox Plate at Moonee Valley that the public fully appreciated the great champion they were shortly to lose.
One of the reasons I went forward when I did was Shivari was in a pocket there where there seemed there's no way out, and I was going particularly well, so I let him throw. My only concern was that if he didn't win, I was in pretty deep trouble.
Oh, Dulcify let go as race to the lead. Shivary's getting off the fence, but Dulcify's going to have a big lead on it. At the 400, Dulcify shot away 2.5 lengths, imposing. Then Shivary under the whip from Arbor Shane and Gypsy Kingdom. But Dulcify well clear. Brent Thompson going for his 4th Cox Plate, and he's got it. He's home, Dulcify. He's 6 lengths in front of Shivary, and then Arbor Shane imposing, stopping. Dulcify's won by a minute, and that's the way he might win the Melbourne Cup. Dulcify by 6 lengths to Shivary.
I remember Jack Purtell saying to me afterwards, that's the best win I've ever seen in the Cox Plate. And he was a very experienced, rational race watcher. And I think it was easily the best win I've seen in the race. Because they were all high-class horses, and he showed that brilliant, electrifying finish that he had, and showed that he was right on top of it all.
So let's go back to the beginning when Colin Hayes purchased this youngster by DC's from Sweet Candy for only $3,250.
Well, he was a lovely horse to follow to start with, and I think he was undervalued because he was parrot mouthed, but I intended to geld him, and with the parrot mouth they're always concerned if you intend to breed from them, because it's often an inherent thing. So, and he'd never be short of a feed with us, so I felt that with his pedigree, he was extremely cheap. He always had that lovely style and rhythm, and we took him away from home to trial him, and he got down in the float. So we couldn't trial him, brought him home and had to run him in a race without a trial on a very heavy track in which he'd never galloped on. And he drew the extreme outside, so consequently he was 300 to 1 and duly won.
After another win and a second to Regal Jester in the South Australian Derby, he was sent to Melbourne for the Victoria Derby. After a third at Moonee Valley, he did this in the Blue Ruban Classic.
Into the straight they race now, and Justice Steele came out and whacked the favourite Caraman, but Caraman and Hauberk immediately swept past it to take the lead. Turf behind them, Turf Ruler, and then with Trust and Bowl Passer. It's Hauberk and Caraman together at the 300 from Justice Steele. Turf Ruler coming at them. Higgins goes for the whip. Caraman takes the lead. He draws a length in front, and Dulcify is going to be the danger. It's Caraman in front with Dulcify out wide, eating up the ground near the line. Dulcify is going to be too strong. Races to Caraman, and the Colin Hayes trained Dulcify wins the Derby. A length and a quarter to Caraman.
Following the Derby, Dulcify headed to Western Australia, and after an unsuccessful try at the Western Australian Derby on Boxing Day 1978, his return trip for a spell proved to be a traumatic experience.
He got very claustrophobic and hated aeroplanes, and so we decided we'd bring him home by road. And Terry Ryan was looking after him, who's now training in Sydney, and Terry's a very sound, sensible person who's a very good horseman. And coming home, the float broke down, so he was in 40-degree heat in a nullarbor, and Terry hitched a ride into the nearest town, borrowed a utility and trailer and float, 2-horse float, came back, picked him up and took him into a place called Sejuna and stood him in the sea and splashed water over him until the float could get going and come and pick him up. And then that horse, he travelled him home, and we rested him till the autumn, and he came back a champion.
After his wins in the Australian Cup and the AJC Derby in the autumn of 1979, Dulcify began his spring successes of that year in the weight for age Craigley Stakes at Flemington.
Argius Nicolaos drew away by 2 lengths to Luck Runa now. Abrashane getting out to go out after it. Marjolio looking for a run on the fence from Valley of Georgia. Superscope hanging. Mr. Sobar trying to get out. Then Dulcify being eased to the outside, and Double Century 4th last with a wall of horses in front of him. Argios Nicolaos led into the straight without after it. Dulcify with a big run out wide. So too is Abrashane, and Valley of Georgia and Marjolio can't get out, and now Double Century getting out with Mr. Sobar. Dulcify took the lead at the 200 in second placing. Abrashane under the whip. Worry Symbol trying to get up on the rails, and Valley of Georgia battling on with Double Century, can't win. Dulcify just the leader near the line from Abrashane, and Dulcify's won it. Won by about a length. Second placing Abrashane, Valley of Georgia third.
After a third in the Underwood to Valley of Georgia, it was back to Flemington where he was unbeaten.
Round the turn, How Fast hanging, and Valley of Georgia got the run to go up and hit the front. And Valley of Georgia took the lead from How Fast and Sarfraz. Caraman behind them with How Burke, and they're 4 or 5 lengths to Gondolier. Dulcify keeps running into dead ends, and then Brioche Castle. Valley of Georgia tackled again by How Fast at the 200 from How Burke and Caraman. Dulcify getting out is coming home hard down the outside. Valley of Georgia and Caraman with Dulcify now coming at them strongly, and he swamped them in a stride. Caraman was in front, but Dulcify got checked and then went straight past it, and he can't get beaten at Flemington, Dulcify. He's won by about 2 lengths to
That race set him up for his legendary Cox Plate win. And then it was the traditional lead-up to the Melbourne Cup, the LKS McKinnon Stakes on Derby Day. It was hoped that Dulcify would be able to win without being put under great pressure. It didn't quite work out that way.
Into the straight, 4:50 to go. Minuetto in front, but immediately Dulcify's gone up to second placing. Chivalry's making its run on the outside. It's Minuetto in front. Dulcify and Chivalry come at it together. We'll soon know who's good. Chivalry's run past Dulcify, got a neck in front of it. Thompson went for the whip. Chivalry a neck in front of Dulcify, and then Minuetto battling on. Dulcify coming again, has drawn level with Chivalry. It's Dulcify and Chivalry together. Dulcify ahead in front. Now a half neck. Dulcify just in front, and Dulcify's won it. A half neck to Chivalry, a length and a half to Minuetto.
After 21 starts, 10 wins, 3 seconds and 2/3, for a total of $568,775, Dulcify came to the Melbourne Cup of 1979.
I don't know really what happened. I said at the time that I felt that when the pace slackened about the 1600 metres that he was galloped on behind, and there was Hyperno behind him. Because he did end up with a lot of marks over his back legs, but you know, I mean, that's history, and whether that happened, no one could be really certain, you know. But he did get galloped on from behind. But it just goes to show the sort of heart that the horse had, because it took me to the top of the straight to actually pull him up in order that I could get off him. So he went some 800 metres on 3 legs. So he must have had a giant heart to carry him that far, because 800 metres on 3 legs is a long way.
And Brent thought that he was a certainty in it, and he was travelling beautifully when the accident happened. And I suppose it's fair to say that was my saddest moment in racing, when he was killed.
He's 6 lengths in front of Chivalry, and then Abrashane imposing stopping. Dulcify's won by a minute, and that's the way he might win the Melbourne Cup. Valley Bay and Spirit of Kingston, but go Red, and look at him go. Red Anchor racing away, 4, 5, 6 in front of National Gallery, then Clovelly Bay and Gold Deck, but Little Red Anchor's going to trot in the Derby. Wins pulling up by 4.5 lengths to National Gallery.
We can only reflect on what might have been. But let's go back to the beginning before we examine whether the right decisions were made with this great champion. John Gigante, one of the original group of owners.
Long story, I was getting out of horses. It was around October 1983. And I was almost getting out. I had enough after 10 years. Then Paul Sutherland phoned me. I was having lunch just down the road here at an Italian restaurant. He said, come down and have a look at this horse. I've got something to show you. So I said no. The following day I went down anyway. I was going to Rose Hill, so I popped in. And he showed me Red Anchor and a horse called Regal Coronet, the Vice Regal horse. And the long and the short of all was, he said, this thing will win the first day I put him down. His first run, he ran third Aricus and Gold Card, who were the hot 2-year-olds at the time, early 2-year-olds. So anyway, after much discussion, he said, I want 30,000 for it. I said, I'll give you 3,000 option to purchase. I'm going away in December. You say he'll race in January. If he races well, I'll then pay you the balance. If he does not, do 3 grand. He said, good as gold, done.
After this unusual transaction, Red Anchor raced and won at Randwick at his third start over 1,200 metres. 3 months later, he went into the Pango Stakes, where he ran second to Inspired, and followed that with a second in the AJC Sires to Victory Prince. He then contested the Group 1 Champagne Stakes over 1,600 metres at Randwick.
Over the rise, Red Anchor coming at Deal. Now Victory Prince is putting in the strong burst down the middle of the track, and Fair Verdict is running on well. Victory Prince takes the lead from Red Anchor on the inside, and Fair Verdict, the 3 of them knuckle down to battle it out. Victory Prince coming at Red Anchor and Fair Verdict on the outside, hammer and tongs. Red Anchor kicked again and won the Champagne.
At his next start, he won the QTC Sires Produce, and that's when the controversy began. Paul Sutherland, the trainer of Red Anchor, wanted to bypass the Melbourne Spring Carnival and prepare him for the AJC Derby the following autumn. Sutherland is quoted as saying, he was still immature and growing at the completion of his 2-year-old season, and I wanted to give him time to develop. He was a heavily built horse with flat heels, and I felt a Melbourne campaign would put a lot of pressure on his legs and lead to fetlock and tendon troubles.
I thought he's just starting to come good. I thought I think it was the ideal. Plus, that to me was the ideal carnival. To leave a horse in a paddock for that period of time is not going to do him any good. The horse did not have a physical problem.
The decision to go to Melbourne paid dividends. Bill Collins' Australasian Racing Year video paid tribute to Red Anchor's spring this way.
There is no getting away from the fact that the 1984-85 racing season belonged to one horse, the mighty Red Anchor. This powerful chestnut colt, who was one of Australia's best 2-year-olds the previous season, blossomed into the undisputed Horse of the Year with 6 easy wins from his only 6 appearances. From 1,200 to 2,500 metres, from his own age group to Wait for Age company, Red Anchor was supreme. His first outing for the spring was in the Roman Consul Stakes at Randwick on September 1. The race had a special significance because it was the colt's first start since being transferred to Tommy Smith, and his clash was to be with Royal Troubadour, trained by Paul Sutherland, who had prepared Red Anchor the previous season.
By Red Anchor on the outside as they swing into the straight, and Red Anchor went to the lead at the foot of the rise from Royal Troubadour. They've kicked away from Skydrop. They're followed then by Movie Maker under the whip. Inspired is giving them a long start and is under the whip, and Deal is putting in a run, but it's Red Anchor now being taken on again by Royal Troubadour, but Red Anchor's about a neck, now a half length in front at the 50, and Red Anchor's in front of Royal Troubadour and will win, and Red Anchor has beaten Royal Troubadour. Deal
After that race, Red Anchor and Royal Troubadour headed to Melbourne for the Classics. Royal Troubadour made short work of top 3-year-olds in the Group 2 Ascot Vale Stakes. And in the Moonee Valley Stakes, Red Anchor did it this way.
Gallery and Fothers coming again on the rails. Red Anchor straight up 100 out, grabbed the lead, and Red Anchor's too good. He's coming away in the concluding stages. Red Anchor wins by a length and a half, Lord of Camelot.
The Moonee Valley Stakes was the first of the tricks because A, it was the valley, B, he's the type of horse that I didn't think would suit a tight turning track. And then the Kiwis were spruiking Fothers how clever it was, and it was a hot 2-year-old, and probably why they bet 3-1. So we did have a bit of a crack at that day. Probably the best price he's ever been. And won. And that delighted that he won. I mean, Mick didn't come down to ride the horse because he didn't think he'd win either. So Gary Willits rode the horse.
National Gallery easing back, away they go. Jumped away pretty well. Red Anchor and Star Pyramid first out from Brave Salute.
Gary Willits had the Moonee Valley Stakes mount, but at Caulfield on Guineas Day, Mick Dittman was back in town. Punters and bookmakers agreed that Red Anchor looked a class above his fellow 3-year-olds, and accordingly, the colt was sent out an even money favourite for the Group 1 Caulfield Guineas.
Past the 600 near the corner, Kent
Just
is
a perfect racehorse. He'd do nothing wrong. You know, you could just about let him go around the race on his own. He didn't need a jockey. He'd sit back and settle. He'd always, if he was in a 6-furlong race, he'd be travelling the same as if he was in a mile-and-a-half race.
Red Anchor got the run and hit the front on the corner. Red Anchor dashed to the lead from Star Pyramid. Fothers getting out from Street Cafe. They're followed by on the outside Brave Salute, but Red Anchor Dittman went for home. He shot 2 in front of the 200. From Star Pyramid getting out Lord of Camelot and then Street Cafe. But Red Anchor's going to walk in, scores by 4 lengths. Second, Lord of Camelot, Spirit of Kingston up for third. And
the last horse to win the Moonee Valley Stakes, Caulfield Guineas and Cox Plate in the one season was the Mighty Surround in 1976. On Cox Plate Day 1984, Red Anchor dominated in the betting ring and, where it mattered, out on the track.
But Street Cafe, Clements kicked it away 1.5 lengths on the corner. Red Anchor's out after it from Lord Camelot. The 3-year-olds are clear. Red Anchor raced up the Street Cafe from Lord of Camelot and then King Delamere. Red Anchor took the lead 100 to go from Street Cafe, battling back and then Lord of Camelot. But the mighty Red Anchor's coming away to win the Cox Plate. Scores by 1 length from Street Cafe.
Then to the Victoria Derby to do what no other horse had done before. Win the Caulfield Guineas, Cox Plate and Derby Treble.
400 to go. Gold Deck and Colenso with Red Anchor about to tackle them and quickly grabbed them and took the lead. Red Anchor's in front. National Gallery's the challenger. He's had to go for the whip on National Gallery, though. Then came Clovelly Bay and Spirit of Kingston. But go Red, and look at him go. Red Anchor racing away. 4, 5, 6 in front of National Gallery. Then Clovelly Bay and Gold Deck. But little Red Anchor's going to trot in the Derby. Wins pulling up by 4.5 lengths to National.
To me, he did everything for me, I must admit. I mean, to me, racing, if they said every year for 15 or 20 years, if you ever had to win a race in Australia, what would you like to win? And I used to say the VRC Derby. Not the AJC Derby, or the Cox Plate, or a Melbourne Cup, or a Slipper. The VRC Derby, to me, epitomises racing.
Red Anchor returned to racing in the autumn of '85, winning the Apollo Stakes at his only start.
Red Anchor takes the lead down to the 200. The rider flicking on the shoulder with the whip. Lacaziere is coming at Red Anchor, but Red Anchor's doing it well with about 100 to go. Lacaziere can't make up the ground, and Red Anchor is extending the stride to win it by 2 lengths.
Suspensory ligament problems then forced his premature retirement from racing, and he took up stud duties at the famous Barramel Stud. Who was right? We'll never know. But it soon became clear that it would have been a formality for him to pass the $1 million barrier over the AJC Autumn Carnival, as the filly, Spirit of Kingston, who he beat in their 2 clashes, won the Canterbury and Rosehill Guineas, and the filly Tristarc won the Derby. Red Anchor. What might have been. Emancipation, the brilliant enigma, who defeated Manicato, was triumphant over Sedapa, won the Rosemount Classic with 60 kilos, and the Doncaster as a 3-year-old with 1.5 kilograms more than weight for age. Emancipation did not race as a 2-year-old, but as a 3-year-old put together some minor wins before taking up the T-Rose Stakes at Rose Hill, after which she went to Melbourne for the Edward Manifold Stakes at the Spring Carnival.
Relat is the leader by length. The Man of Madras and Emancipation is wider on the track, and they're followed by Prime Walk and Ruling Blood. Coming down to the 200-metre mark, and a Relat is being tackled by Man of Madras, and here comes Emancipation. Emancipation moving up on the outside to tackle Man of Madras and a Relat. Emancipation on the outside, Man of Madras, Emancipation doing too well, and Emancipation coming on for a strong win.
After also winning the Carbine Club Stakes at Flemington, she returned to Sydney for the autumn of 1983. After winning the Canterbury Stakes, she was set for the first of her Group 1 wins.
Very quickly, Emancipation is winding up. She's coming after Manny. Emancipation, the 3-year-old filly, is ranged up to the old champion. Emancipation headed Manicato. Manicato kicking again, but Emancipation is a mighty filly. Emancipation streaking away from Manicato and beat him just over 2 lengths with rear form and nose away third, and his run was big.
Emancipation was now favourite for the Doncaster. The handicapper treated her with considerable respect, giving her 1.5 kilograms overweight for age. Jockey Ron Quinton considers this her greatest victory.
I suppose it probably was one of her best wins of her career, no doubt, you know, because I remember, you know, it was a big field. I'd ridden her back
settled her about 7th or 8th, and I was always going very nicely. And I remember turning into the straight, and I was following Avatar, and he was a Melbourne horse, and he couldn't run a mile, and you know, I thought that he'd take me right to the furlong post, and then he'd probably drop off after that. And when he did start to waver a little bit coming up over the rise, I sort of got inside him, and I've probably, you know, hardly ever experienced the acceleration that day of her was just phenomenal. A bit of a gap come, and she was gone. She absolutely exploded away. And a horse from New Zealand, Ring True, come down the outside, but she'd gone, you know. Look, she put the race within doubt in a matter of strides.
It's Avatar coming atop of the pack now. Emancipation's in the clear, and she shot away, but here's the New Zealander, Ring True, putting in a big finish down the outside. Emancipation in front of Ring True, but she's going well, the filly, and Emancipation has it won. Emancipation wins the Doncaster. Ring True second, foregone conclusion. Or Hussar's Command third, then Manuel.
Emancipation was easily the best racehorse I've trained. Well, I've had some very, very good horses to train, and but there's no doubt in my mind that she's by far and away the best racehorse. She had great determination and courage. She was very athletic. She could carry weight, and she just had a terrific acceleration. She could be sort of back in the pack and just burst through the pack and go on and win, you know. And I think her great determination was her best feature.
But while the lady was a champ, the champ was no lady. She was handled throughout her career by Neville Begg's son, Graham.
She'd have to be probably the nastiest horse that I've ever handled.
She didn't like strangers around her. My son Graham looked after most of her racing career, and he handled her very, very well, and I'm sure without his help, you know, she would have done as well. But she's always an unusual sort of filly. She didn't like other horses around her, and you put her in a box and she'd kick the walls, and she'd kick you if she got the opportunity, or bite you. But you know, we got to know her, and I think everybody got on pretty well with her.
But she didn't only bite a strapper, she could bite punters as well. She seemed to either win brilliantly or flop. For example, after winning the Edward Manifold, a fortnight later she met the same field over the same distance and finished 15th.
She could be difficult to ride, you know. Sometimes she used to hang in.
She wants to hang in a bit. She's on one rein, but she quickly ranges up to Kia Mare. She's hanging badly. She's laying all over Kia Mare. Kia Mare kicking again. Emancipation. And Kia Mare, by crikey, Kia Mare is fighting back. They hit the line. Goes to the lead halfway down the straight from Marquis Star. Looks like she might have want to hang a little bit under pressure, but she's too good, and Quinton eased up again.
After failing in the Melbourne Spring of 1983, she never raced again in Melbourne. At her first start in the autumn of '84, she was defeated by the outstanding 3-year-old Sedapper. At her next 2 starts, she won the Apollo and Chipping Norton Stakes.
Blockbuster run. Mr. McGinty claimed by Emancipation at the 100 metres. Emancipation went to the lead to hit the lead from Mr. McGinty. Tresaro flies, but the mare has just beaten Tresaro, I think. 2.5.
She was then asked to carry 60 kilograms against the fillies and mares in the Rosemount Classic at Rose Hill. This race was another measure of her greatness.
Field in good style. Salinas Love and White Jewel headed up for the judge clear. Use the space hook to the outside. Emancipation is trying to break out of a pocket, and she's seeing a bit of daylight now, but Lacazier went to the front. Emancipation barging through that opening now is coming at them, and here's Royal Regatta on the outside. It's Emancipation claimed by Royal Regatta, with Tempestuous running on well, but she's too good, the filly, the mare, and she's racing right away. Emancipation, Tempestuous second, Royal Regatta third.
Her superiority to Sedapper was confirmed in the 1984 Rider Stakes.
The rider looks confident on Emancipation as they make the turn. They're followed by Red Tempo, Sir Dapper getting up on the inside rail. Then at the head of the others, Centane and Youngblood, but Emancipation coming at Secret Romance. Sir Dapper's locked into a pocket as Red Tempo moved up on the outside of it, and Emancipation shot clear with 100 to go. Sir Dapper's giving the mare a long start. Whether he can make it or not, I don't think so. The mare's going too well, and she's home and hosed. and Emancipation wins from Sadapa.
And in her last win, the all-age stakes at Randwick.
Emancipation has the lead as they reach the 800 metres, slipping away a length and a half on Sadapa. In the second placing, 2 more lengths to Clear Gold. About a neck away is Tempestuous, who's making a little ground. And 2.5 Sovereign Chief last of all. Emancipation led Sadapa, who's getting a bit closer as they travel inside the 600 metres. Only a half length away, second the Colt. They're followed by Tempestuous, moving clearly into the third placing. Clear Gold is fourth, and being hard-ridden, and Sovereign Chief is last. In the straight, Sadapa coming at Emancipation, and soon after Sadapa raced to the lead. On top of the rise, Sadapa's in front of Emancipation, but the mare has plenty left on the inside rail, and she's kicking again. The rider feeling for the whip on Sadapa. Emancipation just in front, 100 out, and she's kicking away from Sadapa. She's got him beaten, the mare, and Emancipation strode home to win it well. Emancipation beats Sadapa. Clear Gold is third.
She then went on to campaign unsuccessfully in Brisbane.
At that stage, you know, we weren't quite sure where we were going with the mare. She was raced on lease by the Bob LaPointe syndicate, and her lease was just about due to expire, and we thought, well, if she can go to Queensland and win again up there, because she's racing right-handed, and it appeared as if she would have a chance in the races, but she certainly didn't perform up to her best, and when she was beaten there, we decided to retire her straight away.
The Brilliant Enigma. Emancipation was voted Ansett Horse of the Year and VRC Champion Racehorse for season 1983-84. She was sold for $1 million, retired to stud, and is now a housebound matron, and very much a lady.
Bounding Away is living up to its name and is going to walk in.
The story of Bounding Away is really the Tommy Smith story. TJ's daughter, Gay Waterhouse.
Well, he always wanted, I suppose he always wanted to achieve different feats in racing, and when he realised that he had the filly that could do this, namely Bounding Away, it became a burning ambition that he would be able to train the winner of the Golden Slipper that he had owned and bred.
I said to Gay, I think I bred 3 or 4 Derby winners and Oaks winners and things like that. I said, no, we'll try and breed a Golden Slipper winner. And I looked through Biscay's performance, and I think he only ever had about 1 or 2 Sovereign Edition mares. So I rang David Bath, and I said, look, I'll tell you what, I've got a young mare here. I want to breed a Golden Slipper winner. I'll book her to Biscay. He said, OK. Well, she was a brilliant gallop for the first day she went on the track, and the first barrier trial she won. And Jack Higham came up and offered me $300,000 for, which was a very big price for a horse, 3 years ago. I said, no, I'm going to race this one myself, and I think I'll win the Golden Slipper with her. So I put her away. I didn't race. I put her away till end of January.
Then the lead-up to the Blue Diamond.
Well, she won the day with Harry White on it. I think she drew the outside. And the first run around this way, they mostly improved quite a bit. But on Joe, she was going like a rocket on the track.
Yeah, I came down and rode her on the, I think it might have been the Tuesday and the Thursday before the race, and her work was so good. She was working with another 2-year-old we had here at the time, and, just running away from him the last furlong and beating him easy. She looked a great chance in the race. I was very keen on her chances leading into the Blue Diamond.
I thought she'd win both races. I thought she'd win that race and the Golden Slipper just as easy.
Up to the turn with 600 to go, and the leader Bounding Away ahead now to Indeed I Do.
I couldn't believe, the pace was on, and she was up outside the leader, and I couldn't hold her slow enough. So, I reckon that day she was really on fire.
Looking for a run with Vividly. Then came Western Ace at the head of the others, and Bataan making ground out wide. Bounding Away the leader into the straight. Led from Indeed I Do. Then Opine Trust, Lockley's daughter Bataan on the outside, but Bounding Away has kicked away. Dittman shot at 2 lengths in front of Lars If. Bataan struggling from Lockley's daughter, but Bounding Away is living up to its name and is going to walk in. Bounding Away wins the Blue Diamond by 4 lengths.
After winning the Magic Night Quality at 7-2 on, it was on to the Golden Slipper. But going into the race, Mick Dittman had a few reservations.
I think mainly because I'd felt in the last week of the preparation for the Slipper, I'd felt she'd just gone off at fraction. I know Magic Night Day, she was just so spot on. And I think she'd just gone over the hill a little bit. And leading into the race, I was always a little bit worried, how the race is going to be run, where she'll be running and so forth. And being such a short price favourite too, there's a lot of tension there.
I've never seen Dad so G'd up as the week leading up to the Golden Slipper, he was so tense and so highly strung. He's a highly strung man at the best of times, but he was extremely tense, extremely highly strung.
Racing in the Slipper. Seaswell on the inside, a little slow Scotch and Dry and Maya Card also dropped back, and Pre-Cattle in the early leader from Bounding Away. Captive on the third, Magic Flute improving, so's Breakfast Creek, Western Ace. Behind those horses,
she was always in a good position. She joined the leaders just after rounding the home turn. You know, I thought the way she'd travelled in the race that she'd ping past them and beat them quickly and easily, but she didn't. She, as I say, I felt she was just going over the hill a bit, and from the furlong home she showed a lot of courage to win.
700 to go. Pre-Cattle and 3/4 Breakfast Creek. 2 Bounding Away, a length Magic Flute, Imperial Baron, followed by Western Ace. Captive on Dreams Delight, Just Blooming. Then Seaswell, Headed Star, Baton, Christopher, followed by Scotch and Dry, Hater Prince, and Maya Carter's last. Straightening up in the Slipper, Pre-Cattle and Just the leader. Bounding Away on the outside, coming after Pre-Cattle and Imperial Baron trying to get clear, and then Breakfast Creek and Captive on. Pre-Cattle and being taken on by Bounding Away. Imperial Baron behind them, not getting much room, and then Just Blooming. Bounding Away's taken the lead narrowly. It's Bounding Away coming away, and Bounding Away wins it.
It was everything. It was a dream come true. Dad's won several Golden Slippers, and he's won many, many other great races in Australia, but this was something very personal, very much to do with the Smith family.
I doubt if I've trained a 2-year-old much better, he might have to get back to a horse like, say, Tulloch or something like that, but the other 2-year-olds, I think she could handle them all.
After the Slipper, she was beaten by Diamond Shower in the AJC Sires, but then had her revenge in the Champagne Stakes, beating Maya Card and Diamond Shower.
Tommy and I had sort of revised a plan that we'd try and ride her back and a lot quieter in the Champagne and see if we could use that quick sprint of hers at the finish of the race. And that's how it worked out. It was the first time she was ridden back in the field. And of course, I let her go topping the rise at Randwick. She just went so quick that she put a gap in them and they couldn't beat her.
And here comes Bounding Away. Look at the little filly go. Bounding Away exploded to the lead at the 200 mark. Diamond Shower out wide, running into second place, is coming home hard. Bounding Away is clear with 100 to go, and she's got them well beaten. Bounding Away, the bookies are wrong this time. Bounding Away wins the Slipper and the Champagne, and it's a brilliant win.
In the spring of '86, she returned to racing with a series of 3 seconds in Sydney and Melbourne before taking out the flat stakes at Randwick.
Getting to second, here she comes. Bounding Away is cruising up to them on the outside, and Dittman said go as they got to the top of the rise. Bounding Away hit the front, but not by far. Evandale Star is hanging on gamely. Bounding Away and Evandale Star together with 100 left to go. Dittman's got to pull out all stops on Bounding Away, and here comes Diamond Shower. Bounding Away won't give up, though. Her fighting heart will get her there, I think. Yeah, she fell in to win.
She then returned to Melbourne for an unplaced run in the 1,000 Guineas at Caulfield. It had been a disappointing spring after the excitement of the autumn.
I don't think Tommy always had her right as a 3-year-old. She was off and on a bit, and I think it was probably due to her probably a mental attitude more than anything. She was, you know, she got quite catty as a 3-year-old filly, and you know, some days she was in a great mood. Other days, you know, you sort of couldn't do much with her. So you know, if he had her on, she would do her best. But if she was off, well, you know, you couldn't get her going.
500 to go.
She was then given a break in preparation for her 1987 campaign. Her first run back was a 4th to Canny Lass in the William Reid at Moonee Valley. And then, in blinkers for the first time, she raced fiercely in the Australian Guineas for an unplaced run behind Military Plume.
We thought it would probably improve her antics, but it virtually went the other way. She didn't want to settle in the race. She jumped out and she wanted to pull hard, even though it was a fast run race. You know, she was doing far too much work in the early part of the race, and it, you know, was impossible for her to go on. But he pulled the blinkers off her straight after that run, and you know, I don't think they mightn't have done her any harm, sort of putting them on the first day, because she seemed to mend her ways, and the next few runs were very good.
At her second start back home in Sydney, she lined up in the Group 1 Orlando Classic at Rose Hill.
On the turn now, and Captive Arn led. Wide out Dance Hall Girl on the corner. Then Shinakima, followed by Deedle. On the fence, Just Blooming. Bounding Away behind those, followed by Magic Flute. And Atlantic Mission down the outside is running on strongly. Captive Arn, the leader at the 200 mark from Just Blooming. Atlantic Mission on the outside. Bounding Away behind those. Atlantic Mission and Just Blooming are fighting about halfway down the straight. Bounding Away getting through near the fence. It's Bounding Away bursting through on the inside rail. She's coming home the better little Bounding, and Bounding Away got up to win the Orlando.
She then took on the Colts in the Rose Hill Guineas, and at her first try beyond a mile, She was an unlucky second to Ring Joe. Following this, she ran fourth to Meyercard in the AJC Derby. This fitted her for the classic race for fillies, the AJC Oaks.
The leader bounding away on the outsiders, cruising up. Dittman had a peep over the left shoulder. Round the World is close handy, and here comes Our Star Line down the outside, but bounding away, kicked, bounding away, full of running at the 200 mark, clear of Round the World, and Our Star Line under the whip and struggling now, bounding away as well, clear with 100 to go. She's got the Oaks won. Round the World boxing on strongly, but the champion filly bounding away wins another big one. Bounding away beat Round the World. Our Star Line.
Bounding Away was the first 2-year-old to be voted Ansett National Horse of the Year. The AJC Oaks was Bounding Away's 9th win from 19 starts, and she finished her career in the winter of '87 with nearly $1.5 million in stake money. Just under $1 million of this was won as a 2-year-old. She was a truly amazing filly.
My mother's never liked horse paintings in her home at all. She thinks it's enough to put up with TJ without having to have a horse painting there. But for Dad's birthday that year, Mum and I gave him a portrait of Bounding Away. And I said to my husband, oh, I wonder if Mum would allow it to be hung over their mantelpiece. And sure enough, when we presented it to Dad on his birthday, he straight away said, oh, it's got to hang over the mantelpiece. And Mum said, yes, of course, it's the only horse that should.
Everybody loves a champion, and everybody cheers a battler. It's one of the great moments in racing when they come together.
A couple of young fellas approached me through a friend of mine that I'd never met the boys before, and said they were looking for a cheap horse. So I told them I knew where there was one they could get for $5,000. I thought you couldn't buy a cheap, a nicer horse for that price in the sale, and I took them up to have a look at him, and they liked him. I don't think they knew really a lot about him, but they liked the horse, and they said if I thought, well, he was the type of horse they were looking for. I said he's a speed-bred horse, and he was a big, strong horse with a lot of length, and he seemed to have a very good temperament. Wasn't the best walker in the world. He's pretty clumsy, and that's how it all started. And the boys bought him and formed a bit of a syndicate, and the rest of it's history, I suppose. There he turned out to be a top-line sprinter.
Placid Arc won his first race at Bunbury and several other races at Ascot. But the big moment came when it was decided to take him to the east.
Placid Arc's burst clear, leads about 3 lengths from Rancho Ruler, and between ourselves on the inside, the Canny Lass starting to rattle home from Lord Mornington, and it's Special from Let Me Tell and Colpack the outside. Placid Arc in front of Special and Rancho Ruler. It's Placid Arc from Special, and Placid Arc has won it. Special second. In the Flying West Australian, Placid Arc by 4 lengths. Special is second, 3 lengths to Rubiton, Zip Home, Colpack. Further back then came Asher Star, but Placid Arc well clear with 100 to go. Special trying hard. Oh, he's a real machine, this fellow. Placid Arc's going to canter in, wins by 3 lengths. Special second, Rubiton third. Campaign
the
King
Newmarket
racing
Handicap,
with him.
the third leg of the Triple Crown. It had never been done before. Could Placid Arc do it?
It's Placid Arc on the outside from Let Me Tell, and they seem to be the leaders on the inside. It's Rubiton, Caledonian Boy, and also there is Canny Lass running on with Princely Heart. Placid Arc in front on the outside, Rubiton the inside, Princely Heart. It's Placid Arc, Princely Heart, and Placid Arc's won it. Placid Arc's won the big treble.
The best thrill I've ever had in racing in Oaks, everybody said it couldn't be done. I asked the bookmaker one day what price he'd be for the treble, and he laughed at me. I wish I...
For his next start, he travelled to Sydney for the Canterbury Stakes.
He come out on the Saturday and he breezed her in Canterbury. He equalled the race record that Manicato held, and I got no doubts in my mind he could have took half a second off it. It was a very soft win, and he made horses like Campaign King and Canny Lass, Courier Bay, and those horses. He just made them look second rate.
And Blazing Keel is going after Placid Arc. Scorks gives him a liven up with the whip. Placid Arc again scooted away, put 3 lengths on Blazing Keel. Campaign King is running on well, but Placid Arc is going to add the Canterbury Stakes to his amazing record. And the WA 3-year-old Placid Arc does it again.
His last run of his 3-year-old campaign was in the AJC Galaxy Stakes, when he finished a close second to Princely Heart. He returned to racing in the spring of '87 in the Rupert Steele Stakes at Caulfield.
He didn't feel like a fast horse. He was a big, strong horse, and he used to gallop without any drama sort of thing. He was just an easy-going horse. but you'd look at the horses beside you if ever there was any there, and they'd be going flat out and going backwards.
Inside the 400, and Clements hasn't moved on Placid Arc yet. It's Gouchy hard at work at Christmas Tree on the outside, about a length and a half then to Special, and then Stage Quillo is struggling. Placid Arc, Clements about to go for him, and he's put a gap in them. As soon as Clements moved, Placid Arc went zoom and raced away from Christmas Tree and Special, and he is extra good.
In front of Confucius.
In the Moir Stakes at Moonee Valley, Placid Arc easily broke the race record and might have created a new track record had Brendan Clements let him go. It was a tremendous exhibition of power sprinting.
Clements still got a hold on Placid Arc, but he's given him a bit more rein. He's drew 2 in front with 400 to go. Colpack's got up the Prince Anton. The West Australians are all there. They're going to run the trifecta, I think, and then Cara's Magic. But Placid Arc, Clements still got a hold on it. 3 in front into the straight. Now 4, now 5. Colpack's battling on for second, and then Prince Anton. But Placid Arc now to the line. Can he break the record? He goes to the line. Placid Arc's won it by 5.
Placid Arc was in blistering form during the spring of '87. In the Wait for Age Linlithgow Stakes, it was yet another record for the best from the West.
And the champ from the West, Placid Arc, straightens up comfortably in front, leads about 2 lengths here over Prince Anton under the whip, 2 1/4 lengths away, Groucho from Special, and then Society Bay and Skyfaloo struggling, 300 metres to go, and Dawkins starting to get to work on Placid Arc. He shows the way by a couple of lengths over Prince Anton. Groucho running on from Special. It's Placid Arc clear in the closing part. Groucho trying very hard, but Placid Arc's too good. He wins again, the champion from the West. The old-timer.
Following his undefeated spring campaign in Melbourne, Placid Arc returned to the West for the Winterbottom Stakes.
300 to go, and Placid Arc leads into the straight. He's got his ears pricked as he swung into the straight. A length and a half, Baraka, another Roman. They're nicely clear from Heron Bridge, followed by Savile and Aussie Pack. It's in front, Placid Arc at the 200. Clements has pulled the whip out. Baraka fighting on another Roman, going for the inside run. But Placid Arc, he's a champion. He's pulling out every stop. He's going to win it, and he won by a length from Baraka. Kick away, got through for third.
After being sidelined for 8 months with leg problems, Placid Arc returned to racing in July '88 in a 1,000-metre race at Belmont Park in Perth.
Back down the straight, 300 to go, and Placid Arc is in front. He's straight away by 2 lengths from on the outside. Skyfaloo, followed by Heron Bridge and Colpack. Placid Arc at the 100, nicely clear. He led by 2. Colpack is flying home along the inside rail, but the champion, Placid Arc, has won the day. Placid Arc, a length over
But a black
Colpack.
cloud passed over the clear blue sky. After that race, Placid Arc returned a positive swab to the anti-inflammatory drug Depomedrol.
Well, I was naturally disappointed the way they didn't actually really can the horse. A couple of people said, oh, he's a Depomedrol champion and that, but the way they sort of got about and saying that he wouldn't be the same horse without it, well, I didn't have to worry about that pressure shame because I knew he was just as good without because he won a lot of races without it, so I wasn't too worried about that.
The champ was now in Melbourne preparing for the spring, and after failures in the Churnside and Manikato Stakes, he proved with a gutsy win in the Bobby Lewis Quality that he could win without medication.
Placid Arc punched out, breaks back today. Placid Arc's won it today, he's led all the way.
But then tragedy struck.
Of the unfortunate race accidents which can happen, this was as severe as what we see.
Yeah, that was a bad day. Diane rang me. In the morning about 8:30, and she said she's just heard from Wally that the horse has had an accident on the track, and they're taking it to the vet. This is Barry. What I'm trying to say is the horse will have to be put there.
He done a fantastic job for me, put me on the map in the Eastern States, and it was just the rotten way to lose him. I think it changed their lives, a couple of them. One of them was on the dole one part there, and they were going over there, and just the horse was sort of paying for everything, and I got to know them, they're great blokes. They just really appreciate everything we did with him, and I think they would have been happy to win 1 or 2 races around the country in the first place. It was just a freak thing that happened, and the horse just kept getting better as he got older, and it proved, what a great champion he was when they did the autopsy on him, and he had a 6-kilo heart. So, like it's the second biggest heart they've ever seen.
But Rubiton's in front. Oh, gee, is a good horse, like Harry said. 1.5 lengths to Bow Rogue into the straight. 4 lengths to Allspade Drought Cossack Warrior. But Rubiton wins in a canter. Goes to the line to score by 2 lengths to Bow Rogue. 5 lengths away third, Allspade. An honest galloper from...
As they often say, horse people are mad, but you can see why.
Written by H. White to give him his 5th victory in the Feehan. 20 years ago he won on Volition, then he scored on Sharingrow in
the 4th musketeer. The other 3? Barnes the trainer, Bayliss the owner, and White the jockey. Together, the quartet took on the world and won. David Bayliss, the owner, made the first move.
I went through the catalogue and the Adcos catalogue and picked 5 that I liked on breeding with the updating in mind. 3 twig moss and 2 century yearlings. Then I gave Pat Barnes the lot numbers of those 5 and said, well, you know, you grade them on appearance. He dismissed 3 and we were left with a century and a twig moss. The century, he simply marked Derby colt, love him. Well, bidding went very quickly through to 40,000, which was our limit. But then with a pause in the bidding, we put in 45 and just kept our fingers crossed.
I recall he had a trial and he won a trial very impressively. And we just brought him along quietly with, you know, training and a couple of gallops, and he showed always that he had ability. And he went into a race against Military Plume first up, and we really did think that he'd win, but it poured overnight, and he didn't. The owner was going to have a big bet on him, but the rain put him off because we didn't know how he'd handle that sort of ground. And it was a bog track. I think they run 6 furlongs in 121. And he won. He beat Military Plume by a couple of lengths.
Rubiton contested a number of races before he became associated with the 4th musketeer, Harry White. And without detracting in any way from his previous rider David Tootle or his early career, it's safe to say that when the quartet was finally assembled, it provided a daunting and dazzling display.
David was having strife, you know, managing him on the track. He was pulling very hard. And the circumstances surrounding the change of rider, well, we paraded, walking him at the track one morning, and the owner overheard Harry White say to Darcy Christie, "Isn't that a magnificent horse?" as he walked past. And the owner was fairly impressed by Harry's comment. And I think at that stage he thought, well, H. White thinks so much of his appearance. You know, he was quite happy to contact him, see if he'd be interested.
I was admiring him with, as you say, with Darcy Christie about his ability and the look of the horse, and David Bayliss must have been there and heard that I was a bit wrapped on the horse, and then the horse had to run at Sandown, ran 3rd in the race, pulled very hard, and it was after that that they decided then that they changed, David Bayliss would change the rider, and just out of the blue he just gave me a phone call and I asked if I would like to ride the horse, and in the Oakley Plate, and I jumped at it, the chance to.
Going hard. Oh, he's a real machine, this fellow. Placid Arc's going to canter in. Wins by 3 lengths. Special second, Rubiton 3rd.
And Harry said then after that race, the way the race is run doesn't suit him. He'd be better suited over more ground. And he said he thought a race like the Futurity Stakes was ideal, because at the time we'd only intended to run him from the Oakley Plate into the Newmarket. But after what Harry said, we changed our mind and run him in the Futurity.
With about 200 to go, Rubiton's doing well. A half length in front and kicking away from Campaign King. King Phoenix the danger. Then Playful Princess. Rubiton clear. King Phoenix trying to peg him back, but Rubiton's holding him safely. And Rubiton wins well, a length and a half. King Phoenix, Playful Princess third.
He led in the futurity, but still won. I was able to sort of, you know, communicate with the horse, even though I was in front on him. I did have that affinity with the horse that I was able to communicate with him and relax him. And this was proven later, where in longer races where they all said he'd pull. I used to have him out the back of the race and he'd just go to sleep for me.
There they are, mates together. The beginning of a long friendship and understanding.
After he won that race, he'd really won Harry, and he was then prepared to get down to 50 to ride him in the Newmarket, which he did. And he always maintains that had he come down the outside that day, he'd have given Place of Arc a big shake.
He continued his 3-year-old autumn campaign in Sydney with a second at Rose Hill in the Phar Lap Stakes, during which he was severely galloped on. This forced him to return to Adelaide for a lengthy spell.
It didn't appear too serious at the time, and the wound healed, but there must have been, you know, a deep-seated injury, deep-seated problem, because it became infected and blew up. Harry came up one morning, rode him work, and he just said the horse is not riding himself. He said, take him home, he's too good to take risks with. So we did that immediately.
He returned to Melbourne to begin his spring campaign of 1987 and surprised everyone with this paralysing burst of speed.
Duke and Rubiton with a dash. Then Society Bay, Lockley's Tradition. Ever Ready's dropping out of it. On the corner, Rubiton went to the lead out wide from Special. Wider, Dazzling Duke. Broadreach is struggling. Ever Ready's going backwards on the corner. Into the straight now, and Rubiton shot about 3 lengths in front of Dazzling Duke, followed by Special, Broadreach, then Princely Heart wide. But this is walked in Rubiton. It's 4 or 5 in front. It's going to win by 5 lengths. Dazzling Duke second, Caledonian Boy running on with Princely Heart, battle for third.
So, the die was cast for the horse who was to dominate weight for age racing during that memorable spring.
And our whole mission was to get the horse to relax, which we never ever really did on the track. He was always too uptight here. And I knew the Memsie Stakes was the turning point, really. There was no speed on, there was about 7 runners. Society Bay led in the field and went very slow. It took them 1:28 to run the 1,400 metres that day. Society Bay then ran the last 3 furlongs of that race, sprinted in 34 seconds. He had to be a champion to beat her, and he did.
And the sprint's on in the straight, 350 out, and he's got a break on the leader, Society Bay. 2 or 3 in front of Rubiton and Broadreach, and they're clear then of Cossack Warrior. Society Bay the leader. Now Rubiton is knuckling down to the task. Society Bay in front with 100 to go. Rubiton got on terms, took the lead, and he's too good, Rubiton. He's coming away from Society Bay.
Now a performance that was probably his most devastating. In the Underwood Stakes, he was really special.
Rubiton about to come 4 wide around them. He's off on it now. And Tidal Light's trying to get through in the centre. On the corner, Dazzling Duke, Field Dancer. Rubiton's gone so quickly that it's run past Military Plume and has joined the leaders. Military Plume got cut off and Rubiton swept to the lead at the top of the straight. He's raced 2 lengths in front. In second placing now, Field Dancer. Military Plume struck. Then Fair Sir, Tidal Light, but Rubiton's a mile in front. He's 4 in front with 200. Fair Sir has gone into second placing, but Rubiton canters in by 3 lengths to Fair Sir.
He was now the undisputed star of the 1987 spring, and the pressure was really on. The Caulfield Stakes was next, but sometimes something just has to give.
Well, he got away with me on the Friday morning here, and he was clocked around 6 and 18 on the sand track here. He was the strongest horse I ever had anything to do with. He had so much power. He was a horse that... a lot of horses, you could get hold of them, rein them up and get a short hold of them on the track here, and you will beat them, they'll give in. But he had such a will that he never ever gave in. You couldn't beat him with force.
When he came off the track, I was just turned around and walked away. I was so disgusted to see him going the way he was going. When he came off the track, I think Harry could sense that I wasn't happy. And the strapper went out to lead him in, and when he brought him back to me, I said, Harry, you didn't need that. And Harry said, won't hurt him, Pat, won't hurt him. I said, he's not a bloody engine. He said, yes, he is. He said, He is an engine, this horse, he said.
Rubiton's not responding too well. Drought's run to him, in fact. Fair Sir in front of Drought the outside. Rubiton's gone. Drought coming at Fair Sir near the line, and Drought's got up.
So now they had a problem. How to bring a horse back to win the championship of Australasian racing, the Cox Plate, in just 2 weeks. Long-time friend George Hanlon provided the solution. Rubiton needed a break from the hurly-burly of city training tracks. 2 weeks in the country might just help rejuvenate the champion.
To be quite frank, on Cox Plate Day, I had a feeling of calmness because I felt that I'd done all I could for him down at the property at Leopold. And, you know, it's a big race coming up. You've done all you can do. And that was that.
Never seen a Cox Plate like this, spread out at the 800. Bow Rogue 6 lengths clear from Tidal Light. 8 lengths Marwong. Poetic Prince off the fence has gone up 4th. Bozam a length and a half away from Fair Sir. Carpstad. Rubiton's travelling well. Then Midnight Fever, High Regard, Campaign King and Drought. With 600 to go, Vogue 4 lengths to Marwong. Tidal Light, I think's gone. Then Poetic Prince, Bozam. Here's Midnight Fever letting go the filly. Rubiton trying to get out, and then follows Carpstad, and Drought's broken down. 400 out, and the leader still Vogue, a length to Marwong. Our Poetic Prince is travelling beautifully the outside, and Rubiton's getting out. Our Poetic Prince has claimed the leaders on the turn. Rubiton and Fair Sir out after it. It's Our Poetic Prince in front. Rubiton stumbled, bumped into Fair Sir. Our Poetic Prince a length in front. Rubiton gets balanced, races up on the outside. Rubiton's hit the front, and Rubiton's won the Cox Plate. About a neck to Our Poetic Prince, a length to Fair Sir.
Despite the weight of public opinion against his decision, Pat Barnes elected to line Rubiton up in the Weight for Age McKinnon Stakes on Derby Day.
And the leader is King of Brooklyn, 2 lengths to Rubiton, a length and a half Military Plume and Drought to the outside from Belciano. King of Brooklyn clear. Harry's hard at work on Rubiton. He's not responding too well. Military Plume and Drought sticking with him. It's King of Brooklyn in front. Rubiton's getting to him now. Then came Military Plume and Drought. Rubiton's got to King of Brooklyn. He's taken the lead with 100 to go. He's in front. Military Plume's grabbing him. King of Brooklyn's coming again. It's a race. Rubiton a nose in front and one.
Little did we know that we would be robbed of the opportunity to see Rubiton's greatness develop further in the autumn of '88. He returned to Adelaide after the McKinnon, and midway through his next preparation, tragedy struck.
Went to feed him at lunchtime one day and he had a tendon, a bow tendon. And to this day, I consider that it must have happened through the horse getting cast, because he was a horse you kept close watch on all the time, and I had never ever noticed any indication of tendon trouble until that particular time when I went to feed him.
Well, I'll never forget him, and I'm building a new home up at the farm, and it's going to have a nameplate over it called Rubiton, so I'll never forget him.
He moved me to write a poem about him one time, and it goes like this. When he walked into the stable, striding bold with equine grace, one couldn't help but feel he'd put a smile upon your face, for he was something special. He proved as he progressed what a champion he really was, to meet and beat the best. At sprint or any distance, he'd take them in his stride. With Harry sitting quietly, he'd fill your heart with pride. His racing days are over. A sadness grips my heart. There'll never be another, and our time has come to part. My memories will linger of the day when he arrived, and the many thrills he gave me as game-heartedly he strived. He'll stamp his stock with will to win, I quote, convinced of that, for Rubiton was, after all, a true aristocrat.